Welcome everybody, my name is Nick Kremp, I'm the conservation agent here in Leominster. It is May 14th, 2024 at 6:02. Before we get going, I just want to remind everyone, please silence any devices you might have on you so we don't have any interruptions. I'll take a quick roll call of commissioners present. Bob Seacard.
Here.
Jim Chambers.
Here.
Nick Venti.
Here.
Mike Seeke.
Here.
Rich Gullick.
Here.
And Chuck Raymond.
Here.
All right, so we got 6 of the 7 present. That's a quorum, so I will give it off to the chair, Chuck Raymond.
Thank you, Nicholas. I assume it's a much larger crowd than we used to, so pardon me for not speaking, usually speaking in front of a large crowd. I assume you're all here for the Somerset issues?
Mass Town representative.
Oh. And ma'am?
435 North.
Okay, all right. So the reason I ask is we have an outstanding agenda item for people to ask us questions about items that are not on the agenda. So it sounds like you're all here for an item on the agenda, so we'll forego that then. Thank you. Proceeding on under new hearings then. Speaking of Lake Somerset, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for an ecological restoration project at Lake Somerset. Address Lakeshore Drive, map and parcel NA, DP number not yet assigned. We are opening this to discuss?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. In doing so, Mr. Ziki is a resident there, so.
I will be recusing myself from this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mike. All right. And is there somebody here to, here's Steph. Thank you, Steph. Here, oh, you got this. There you go.
All right, so whoever wants to speak on Lake Somerset,
That would be me.
Come on up and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jan McDaniel.
Jan?
Jan.
Okay.
And I live at 24 Lakeshore Drive for the past 6.5 years. Moved here from Minnesota to get warmer.
Well. How's that working out for you?
Really well. I love it here. It's a great community. While I am a trustee of the Lake Samoset Property Owners Association, I'm truly here representing the residents around the Lake Samoset Cove, where we have growing and more invasive every minute lily pad growth, and particularly an area of the lake that is shallow. And we refer to it locally as the Lake Samoset Cove. I don't think that's an official designation. But Nick can point out on the map up there what part we're talking about. It's about a 7-acre parcel.
That whole part there?
And when I first
Just
moved,
to that point.
right about there, when I first moved here 6.5 years ago, there were some lily pads, and they're pretty. And every year, it's getting worse and worse and worse, so that the southernmost part of that little cove down there is practically choked out. And it's we're concerned about the health of the lake and also the habitat of the lake. So we are proposing a method of mowing that is not going to go deep or disturb the bottom of the lake, but mowing the lily pads, taking them off, loading them on a trailer, and disposing of them in an appropriate place. So this is not an herbicide treatment. You can see the mower there. This process has been done very effectively for a long time by the Lake Wyman Association in Westminster. And the vendor that we're proposing to do this work does this same kind of work all up and down the East Coast and the South and the Southeast. So he's experienced, been doing it for decades. It's important to us that this is not a chemical treatment. But our concern is that as these lily pads do their die cycle and wind up on the bottom of the lake, they're just piling up. And it's creating, we're worried about the oxygenation, we're worried about the habitat, and frankly, we're worried about the quality of the lake, at this particular portion of the lake itself. So we would respectfully request that you approve our proposal. It is the best that we feel for the lake itself, in that it's not going to be an herbicide. We will remove what's cut. Again, the cutter does not go much below the surface, so we're not going to be disturbing the bottom of the lake. But this is a tried and true process. we are not under the illusion that this is a one and done type of thing, because the lily pads are gonna grow back. I mean, that's what they do. So the possibility of the members of the Lake Association who have agreed to pay for this, that we may have to do this every year or every other year for who knows how long. This is not a project of the Lake Samoset Property Owners Association per se, but this is 10 concerned families who live in the proximity of the Lake Samoset Cove who are seeing this detrimental issue affect our water. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, thank you, Jan, appreciate that. I read your package on the, they submitted, very nicely done package, I really appreciate it. And you actually answered one of my questions, how often you have to do this. You said you're thinking maybe every year or the other year. It answers that question. And when you say you're gonna dispose of what's been mowed at an appropriate facility, I think you said, do you know where that's gonna be yet? Is it gonna be composted?
Probably at the composting center for Leominster.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty. I'm reasonably familiar with operations like this. I used to work for a company that designed these types of projects. I'm reasonably familiar. So I don't have any significant questions. I think it's in terms of water quality, I think it's critical. That's going to get that lake is going to continue to devolve, if you will.
Particularly the western portion of that cove, it's already
Yeah.
getting completely blocked.
How deep is it in that area? Ish, on average, do you know?
What would you say, 4 or 5? 4 or 5?
4 or 5 feet. yeah.
Average to 11 and maximum of 20 is what.
Well, that's for the bigger part of the
That's for
lake.
the whole lake,
Right,
that part, oh,
right.
excuse me for
The
that.
cove, the cove itself is much more shallow.
Okay.
Just this part.
All right, yeah, no, I think in terms of comparing the minor issues that might happen during the mowing compared to the benefits to water quality and habitat, both for the fish and the frogs and everything else, and the birds that visit the area, I think it's a very worthwhile trade-off. Anybody else in the commission have any questions or comments?
I have a question for Nick. What's the other big invasive water plant that we're?
Milfoil is one.
Yeah, milfoil's big.
Milfoil, yeah, that's
Water
what-
chestnut.
yeah,
Water chestnut, right.
Well, and I've seen what they call mudcats in operation to remove the milfoil.
I'm not super familiar with aquatic weeds. I know there's quite a number of them that are invasive and not necessarily invasive, but can be problematic.
Yeah, I know.
Not super
I know in
familiar.
Pepperell, the National Watershed Association, they do they have people come in their canoes every year and pull the
Water chestnut.
water chestnut. Yeah, that's a different kind of plant, obviously. And so,
But with that in mind, are there other areas besides where you have the water lily problem within the other coves of the lake that need treatment?
Well, there is an herbicide treatment that the LSPOA does. Used to do it every other year, now it's going to be every year.
That came in front of this commission.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, they have an order for
That's
us.
correct.
yeah.
That's an herbicide treatment for the milfoil and the pondweed and the other things.
Okay,
And
and
that's
that has no effect on the water lilies, that herbicide?
No. I think 2,4-D is the only thing that's truly effective, and that's really nasty stuff.
yeah, truly, yeah. Yeah.
Were
Set.
all of the residents around the whole lake informed, or just
So,
a select
I
portion?
assembled a notification, a butters notice list for just the people living around this portion of the lake. Basically from the peninsula, the entirety of the peninsula, and then east of Forest Road right here. So everyone around here, because the only activity that's,
And then down that whole stretch?
yeah, everyone within 100 feet of
On
the
both sides.
eastern half
It's
of the
important to
lake.
note that Jan is a trustee and brought it up to the board. Mike Valley is here, he's the vice president of the homeowners association. So it was brought up before them, and buy-in was created. They weren't gonna pay for it, but I don't mean to take your,
No, that's fine.
No, that's what I'm looking for.
yeah.
It's confirmation, there's no objections from
Yeah.
anybody else. Not that I would know why
Not trying to
would, but just to confirm.
I'm glad you said that, 'cause I was going to say, have you had any people voice their opposition to
No,
this?
not so far. We have 10 family members who have committed to paying for
Okay.
this process out of
Okay.
their own pockets.
Okay.
They're very interested in the health and quality of the
Okay,
lake.
that's good to know, okay. Are you planning on, just questions, off the top of my head, are you planning on, when you, as the weeds get pulled and stockpiled, are you planning on removing them that day to the composting facility?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't want that sticky stuff standing on the beach.
Yeah, it'll stink after.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gotta get out of there.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing is, you have to let the water drain off, because transporting it, leaking out of the trailer
Right.
is not a good thing.
Right, okay. All right, anybody, any other questions? Bob? Oh, yeah, I'll go with Bob, it was the first hand I saw, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay. Jan, can you tell me how many of the 10 families there have a well?
I would say the majority are on town water. Becky?
No, I've got a well,
Donna has-
up Goods have a well. Ricketts have a well, but they're not in on this.
They're not using it.
Yes, and Kathy's on city water.
Kathy and I are
I
on city
think
water.
it's just,
I have a well.
I assume no, but it's as
What?
well.
yeah, in the
What's-
peninsula.
yeah, what do we
Yeah, Bob, why do we ask?
Well, the next question is followed, would be, historically, do we have water quality data that's recorded and kept for history on it?
I could ask.
Well, in particular, after the September 11th flood, the General Lake Association tested the water in the General Lake some weeks after the flood, and then some of the property owners around the cove did it themselves, in addition to the larger lake process. Isn't that correct? Yeah.
When you say did it themselves, you mean tested their own well water?
We sent it to be tested.
Or was it
No,
the
the
lake water?
the
Lake water, okay.
the
For
lake
E.
water.
coli,
Lake
after
water.
Got it, okay.
Okay, my suggestion would only be that historically, just before and after kind of thing, that, or as the program goes on, that we either take pictures or have data kept for years, periods, just for your benefit. I don't think we have any say over that, but just to make sure we're not making it worse, you know.
What kinds of parameters would the water be tested for that would indicate a problem?
Yes, for pictures right there.
No, I understand, but he also said, mentioned water quality and taking samples.
Oxygen, clarity, you know, I normal parameters, I guess.
We in the past have shied away from getting ourselves involved in some of these monitoring programs like that.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
an
I
upstream
can
or
add to that.
downstream versus, or in terms of time differences and so on. So I would not recommend doing that.
Yeah, no,
I think they need
I'm-
to remove these water lilies and we should get out of their way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Rich. I don't see
I
a
do
water
too.
quality, I think in this particular project is only gonna make the water quality better. And so I'm not, I'm really not inclined to
What
establish.
would we do with the data though? even if we
Exactly,
had
right.
any?
Who's gonna store that data?
We wouldn't do anything with it. It would give you verification that your project was working. You know,
Well-
like he says, we wouldn't get into that. I'm just curious on my aspect of the program going forward, that you know you're doing the right thing, and I'm sure you'll see the results. I'm just
So makes you feel better.
suggesting.
We have water and wetland come out, they're the ones that do the chemical weed treatment, and they assess our lake. We pay them an extra $250 every year to assess our lake. They report on oxygen, they report on the weeds that they found.
I think that'll
report
work
on
just
the
fine then,
density.
yeah.
And they provide us a report every year, we can certainly submit that.
So perhaps they,
No, actually, I don't think there's any need to submit it to us, we're not a governing
No,
authority,
we have it,
not a
yeah.
regulatory, so I would just,
Keep control.
yeah, just,
And they'll
exactly.
report if
Have them
they see
sample
any
on that
detriment
side.
year to year, so.
And
Yeah.
those of us who live and use the lake on a routine basis are
Pretty diligent.
keen on it. You know, we stay on top of it.
Well, I'm in favor of the program, so
Thank you.
I'm just trying to help you on your side to cover yourself, to, if somebody would keep that record, you know, going forward.
And the lake also banned motorboats. How long ago was that?
Probably 35 years.
Yeah, a long time ago, so it's all paddlers and
and you want to be able to
electric
paddle
motors, so-
without getting caught up in this.
Correct, yeah.
Right, it's a recreational, it's also important.
Nick, you got a question, comment, something?
How does the plant respond to it being cut? I don't know, in the summer.
Well, it probably doesn't like it at first, but it'll fight back, you know.
So does it, physiologically, does it send out more roots? Does it send up shoots? Is there a particular season that you could cut it and kill it effectively, or do you want to pull it from the root?
Well, if we pulled it from the root, and I'm no expert, it seems like it would disturb the bottom of the lake, and I don't think that's gonna solve the
And it's a
problem.
horribly
Cause it to
intensive
spread.
project too.
That would be more intensive.
Then you get into hydro raking probably, and
Right.
that's a mess.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm just asking.
That would probably be the best solution overall, but to
Yeah.
get, to be able to start disturbing the bottom and determining what animals are living there and.
Now you're talking some chemistry analysis.
Correct, yeah.
Start
For sure.
going
Yeah.
into the bottom.
And I'd also imagine that you'd probably want to get this done in the spring rather than the fall, so if you did it in the fall, you gotta have the whole summer full, lake full of weeds,
right. It would be optimal to have it done in the summer, early summer.
if not before,
Early
right,
summer.
yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because if the plant responds by proliferating effectively and in response to cutting, and it does that in the spring versus in the fall.
Well, we have the experience of the Lake Wyman Association in Leominster, who started this process in 1985.
Okay, and what do they do? Do they do it in the
And
spring?
They started the process, they did it for a number of years, and then my understanding is then they needed chemical treatment on top of that, which we're already doing. But it's been effective in keeping Lake Wyman healthy for decades.
And, which is a different kind of animal because there's a lot of private septic systems on
Sure.
Wyman's, and it's much more populated than Lake Samuelstead is too, so that doesn't help things.
Is mostly septic tanks out there?
No.
No?
Not on Lake Shore.
Okay. Curious, okay.
No, it's a city, well, it's a private sewer
Yeah.
that connects to the city sewer, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so no septic.
I don't think on Lake Shore
Very, very
there aren't any septics left out.
No,
Okay.
from 48
Yeah, on the peninsula there are.
out to.
Because, well, right, yeah, we had one of those hearings a few months ago, right? Anybody else have any questions, comments about the project? All right. Anybody else have any comments, questions in the public? Nope, okay.
We don't have a number,
We don't.
so the recommendation, I think, Nick, is to
Mhm.
continue this.
Yep.
Until the next time, and we keep the public hearing open.
Yes. Until
And
May
it's-
28th.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to continue this to May 28th. Hopefully we'll have a number by then, and you can go forward at that point.
Yeah. I would be interested in any comments that the state issues as well.
Yeah,
just
that's
because it's-
another,
we're in the lake and
Right.
dealing with stuff, and I'm not very familiar with it.
actually in
at
the
all,
water,
so
right, yeah, that's a good point.
They might have things that we haven't thought of.
Can you please let them know that we would like to hear those for our next meeting?
I could, but
Because we don't want them to hold this up through the summer. And
Yeah.
DEP has held up a lot of
Won't
things.
happen,
So
Rich.
please be proactive. Thank
I
you.
can ask, but they have their order of things, and it gets done in that. That's what
You
I'm
know,
told.
John.
And they have their way of doing things.
So do I.
But I will ask them, I will ask them. All right.
All right, then, so I'll then, so based on the comments a couple weeks ago,
We should make a motion to continue
To
this
continue the
and not
hearing.
close
Yeah.
the public hearing.
that's where I was going, okay. So I'll entertain a motion Jim, I haven't finished my comment, you have a question?
No, I was just gonna, I was getting ready for you.
We were ready. Oh, then I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing until our next hearing on May 28th.
I'll make that motion
Thank
to
you, Mr.
continue the
Chambers.
public
And I'd like
hearing.
to second that right away.
Thank you, Bob.
So I'll take the commission's vote by roll call. Bob Seacard,
Aye.
Jim Chambers,
Aye.
Steph Quinlan,
Aye.
Nick Benty,
Aye.
Mike is recusing himself, Rich Gullick,
Aye.
and Sean Freeman.
Aye.
All right, so 6-0, 1 recusal. So we will continue this discussion on May 28th.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Jim.
luck.
And I will let you know, you should get an email, but I'll let you know if DEP has any comments and if we need any.
Yeah, right.
But you'll probably have to come back in on the 28th.
Okay,
So, all right.
that's fine. We love it here.
Perfect, all right. Love seeing you.
So do we.
Thanks very
All
much.
right, thanks, folks, have a good night.
You too.
Mike should join back.
Oh, yeah, it might be, yeah, thank you.
Do I unrecuse myself? Is that what it is?
I think you've
guess
just
so,
done,
sure,
I think
yeah.
you've just done that.
Hereby unrecuse myself.
That
Thank
works
you.
for me.
I'll officially, Mr. Shiki back into the
We'll
hearing.
figure out what the reverse term is.
I'm gonna do some brushing up on,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm sure there's some specific term we need to be using,
Yeah.
okay. All right, good. All right, pursuant, read the next hearing into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the reconstruction of Route 12 from the Sterling town boundary to, is it Tochi Street? Tossie Street in Leominster. Address all of Route 12 south of Tossie Street in Leominster. DP file number not yet assigned. I assume you're here about the project? Please
Yes, we're
introduce yourself and
here.
come on up.
A little bit of our team got confused with the time,
Yep.
I
Could
you
guess,
sit
and
up?
they're a little
Come on.
late, but
Come
we
on right
can
up here.
start. Right here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is the rest of your team is not here? If I may suggest, we can come back to that so we don't get interrupted in the middle of it. And have to continue
you
the
still
hearing
have
to take
somebody.
a break and come back. Just,
So I'm sorry.
you're waiting on more people to come, correct?
Yeah,
some
sir.
people
Oh,
might
so
come.
just table this one and come back
They're not all
later?
here. I would table it
Yeah.
and come
Let's-
back when you're.
if you don't mind, we just-
We don't,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If you
don't-
still have somebody.
I don't think any of these other ones are gonna take all that long, so maybe
Yeah.
give you a few minutes to.
Yes,
So we'll table that one and come back.
I'm ready either way.
Okay.
If we get through everything, if we get through everything, then they go.
Correct.
Thank you, Ryan.
Good
Thank you
idea,
for the
thank you.
flexibility.
Yep, so yeah, it shouldn't take too long. All right, so
yeah.
we'll go ahead and move on temporarily to on the continued hearings. Again, I'll read it into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter
We're
130.
not gonna open that one tonight.
We can open it and just,
Because there's no number assigned, so why?
or yeah,
Yeah,
just
good.
Why open it
basically,
to
yeah,
close it?
I don't have anything new on
Please-
that,
Yep.
I don't have a
skip it.
number, so
Thank you.
we'll just not
So we'll
open
skip
it.
that one, so we'll skip. We're skipping the one on 300 Day Street, because there is no DP number. Thank you, Rich.
You want?
All right then, going to the next one, read that into the record. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of a residential garage in a wetland buffer zone. Address 435 North Street, map and parcel 289-2, DP number 199-1192. I don't see anybody here to represent. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna introduce yourself?
Yes.
Oh, my name is Linda Jean Hall, I'm the homeowner.
Okay, well, wonderful, okay.
So basically, I'll just catch everyone up here, that maybe wasn't here at the meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't here, but I did see I did watch it on YouTube.
Yes, and I believe everyone else was here on April 30th,
I think so,
is
yeah.
that correct? Yeah, so, yeah, we just basically didn't have a file number at that time, but I don't have anything new to say about it, I think we covered everything.
Bob was also not here.
Bob was not here.
Okay.
Yeah, or Chuck.
But Chuck watched the
Right,
video.
right.
Bob, did you watch
Right.
the video
He watched the
of
video.
last? That's fine, so you just wouldn't be voting on this issue, but that's, we still have a quorum of people for the discussion, so basically, as it stands, there's no new points of discussion. We were just waiting on the file number, which we do have now. It's 199-1192.
Right.
So I would recommend that we approve the order for 199-19 or 1192.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I watched the video, I didn't have any questions, it looked like a pretty, there's already a structure, a slightly smaller structure, but still already a structure there. So I did I was pleased with the erosion control, so, yeah. So, as Nick said, I'll make entertain a motion to approve
Chuck?
Yes.
We need to make a motion to close the public hearing first.
that's how we did that, thank you. All right, so before we get to that then, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing for that project.
So moved.
Rich, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jim?
Take
All
the
right.
commission's vote by roll. Jim Chambers,
Aye.
Steph Quinlan,
Aye.
Rich Gullick,
Aye.
Nick Venti, Mike Siki,
Aye.
and Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
And Bob is recused because he's not here, so that's 6-0. Closed. Okay.
All right, then, moving on then, I'll then entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent for the construction of a garage, residential garage at 435 North Street, as presented by the applicant 2 weeks ago.
Is that with our standard conditions?
With our standard conditions, there were no special ones, were there?
No.
I make that motion.
Thank you, Rich, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael.
I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Jim Chambers?
Aye.
Steph Quinlan?
Aye.
Nick Venti?
Aye.
Mike Seeki?
Aye.
Richard Gulick?
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond?
Aye.
And Bob is refused, so that is 6-0, and order is approved. So I will get that out to you later this week.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
So what are our thoughts about going on to communications and keeping that one tabled?
I mean, if you guys are ready to start, I mean, I don't really think it's a,
We're no longer holding someone out.
That's good.
yeah,
She was really my
Yeah, that's a good
objective for that.
yeah.
Okay.
Which one's?
So come on,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will go ahead
Pretty
and,
straightforward.
I don't need to read it back into the record, we just kind of,
They'll come for questions, maybe.
is there a particular term for opening up something that's been tabled, do we know?
You're just opening it for discussion.
Just
of the
gonna
chair.
continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, well, continues, different connotations in this setting.
This is listed as new hearing here.
Yeah, just read it into it, just for the record.
Yeah, just to make sure I'm not covering our,
We didn't go over it last time, right?
No, we're opening it.
Yeah, we're just opening it now. Okay.
yeah, so I'll just read into the record again, just make sure we're doing this correctly.
Thank you.
Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the reconstruction of Route 12 from the Sterling boundary to Tossy Street in Leominster. Address all of Route 12 south of Tossy Street in Leominster, and no DEP number yet. So again, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, yes, my name is Oksana Fartushna. I'm an environmental person from the environmental team on the project, Green International Affiliates.
From who?
Green International
Thank you.
Affiliates, we're the designer hired by Massachusetts Department of Transportation for this project. And with me here right now is
Hi, I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm the environmental analyst permitting this project with Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Good, okay.
Yes. So I'll give a quick overview of the project. This is a pretty old project. We started working on it a little over 10 years ago, basically, and it's finally coming to the resolution this year. Yes, so this project is basically reconstruction, rehabilitation of Route 12 from Sterling Town Line to the Tucci Street in the city of Leominster. The project includes reconstruction, improvements, intersection improvements for Willow Street, and then the a few more intersection improvements that are shown actually on the other plan. Then Litchfield Street intersection improvements, different roundabout is proposed there, upgraded signals. So there's a lot of improvements associated with this project. I'm not going to go into detail on them because I was expecting our designer to go into those details. However, we can definitely go back to them once he gets here. And I just want to focus on the basic environmental impacts associated with the project. We have some areas subject to protection by Wetland Protection Act within the project limits. I can also, it's important to mention that the project is a limited project for the improvements of existing roadway, not widening but by more than a single lane. Therefore, we are applying for a limited project provision here. And you can, Nick, you can scroll down. I'm just going to focus on this maybe map. Well, I can start with a little bit of a map that was right before it. This one, yes. So we have obviously wetland resource areas flagged along the project limits. The project is pretty long, so you can see a lot of wetland resource areas here. However, our impacts have been minimized to the maximum extent practicable, avoided where we could, and unavoidable impacts are being mitigated. And then we can now scroll to the next slide. These are the NOI impact plans. So we are basically showing our project limits only within resource areas under Wetland Protection Act jurisdiction. That's why we're here. As you can tell, on this stretch of the roadway, we are doing work only within buffer zones, and then we are proposing erosion sediment controls everywhere in the vicinity of the resource areas to protect those wetlands nearby. And then if we want to, yes, these are the ones. We want to scroll here. As you can tell, this is a continuation of the project. Again, we're only doing work within a little bit of a buffer zone here, and then this wetland doesn't show the buffer zone because it was flagged as an isolated land subject to flooding here. And then we can scroll down. So this is another wetland area. Again, we're only doing work here within buffer zones of that area, and erosion sediment controls are proposed along the project slope limits to protect it. And then we can keep going. This is basically the first area where we have an impact. You can tell that the impact here is associated solely with the new outfall there and the stone for pipe ends. So basically this is just the minor impact where we have to install erosion sediment controls to protect this area.
If I may, what do you mean by impact in this case? Are you
just
simply that you're within the wetland area?
Access and erosion
impact?
controls are going to be installed there. So this is the easement line. The slope limits actually end before
What's
the wetland
the
line.
impact? That you said there was gonna be an
Access for
impact.
construction, for basically construction of that outfall. So it's not going to be any earth disturbance in that particular
It's that
wetland
they're
there.
entering the wetland area is all?
Yes.
Okay.
In here, it is solely entering. There's going to be no regrading here because the slope limits
So
actually
it's
end.
access, not necessarily impact, or you're sure it's gonna impact it? You follow me?
We are calling it temporary impact because we
Fair enough. Thank
yes,
you.
that's why I'm saying that it's only temporary because it's going to be restored upon completion of work in accordance with the Mass DOT special provisions for basically restoring any temporarily impacted wetlands. And we can scroll down to the next one.
What was that one? What was that? I'm just having trouble orienting myself.
Can you locus this or
Yeah, what's that
something?
intersection there on the right side?
Oh, I think this is a driveway actually, but I can
Okay.
check from the bigger
Yeah,
map
where is that?
before, but I'm pretty sure it's not an intersection
Well,
because
this is Jitech Drive, and then this is heading north as we're going down,
So this is
right?
pretty far south.
yes, this so
Is
this
that
is
map
D. Yes, we're basically going north. So we're D. Yeah, this is not an intersection with the street. It's just a
This is the
driveway.
drive.
Okay, so maybe if I just,
Oh, can I see that a second, that map? Yeah.
Yes, this map has all of the wetlands by the letter. You can see this one
You
that
can
we
read
just
it.
discussed was wetland D. Which
What's
is
with
on the-
the coloring in Lake Sarasette, may I ask, on the right side?
that's
It's
because it's just,
It's a MassGIS layer. They color the lake there as open water and this area as
like swamp marshy.
swampy area. Because our
Swampy.
project is not there, we're not flagging it, so we're only showing it as DEP
You
wetlands.
follow me?
Those are water
However-
lilies.
Yeah.
But this is not the same hearing,
It's the same map.
but it's colored in
Well, but I
where it
mean,
wasn't
Mass
on the last
GIS.
map.
Yeah, well, he had.
Well,
one
and
of
then he
the-
colored it in as he was doing it, but originally it wasn't. So this is, it's kind of odd, that's all.
No,
This is the GIS, yes. We were using GIS for wetlands outside of the project limits that are not adjacent to it. And then we were using the surveyed field flags for the project
Well,
area.
they nailed the water lilies. That's all I can say. Moving on.
Yeah, so that you can see this is wetland D. That's the one we were just discussing. It's on the,
Well, so the Jitech Drive one is that shows Jitech Drive on the plan, is that DP4? Is that right? Because that's right about there. So then the next one up with the driveway would be DP5?
oh no, the DP are discharge points. These are basically discharge
Oh.
points associated with
okay.
stormwater report.
Pardon me.
Wetland
then.
D is way up there.
So this
Yes,
one-
the wetland D is actually there,
Right
and
there.
the driveway that was shown there, it's most likely that one north of it with the parking lot. But I can't really tell exactly because it's not zoomed in enough, I guess, and we don't have a aerial on the impacts plans. But We can tell the address because the impact plan there, we had the address on top of it. So if we go here.
You had something along the road, you had markings on the road, on that map, on that next map. You had,
Well, what I'm saying is, it says here that
you had
this is a
you had a chain on the road.
1237 Central Street.
Okay,
So this is their property, wherever that is located.
1237 is this driveway.
Yeah, 1237 Central
Oh, it's right
Street. Subject to electrical easement, notebook.
I think
Yeah,
this is-
Ashton Estates, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
So that's just their driveway.
Is there,
yeah.
is there a chainage on the road as well?
A what?
A chainage? Like, feet along the project from, is zero the Sterling line here? Or is it?
Well,
We haven't
this
got
is-
that far.
Yes, I mean, I can tell you how many, I guess approximately, like if you
Maybe-
measure it, how many
Maybe they're- no, it's-
feet it is from Sterling Town
that's
Line,
just
but we're not that
station.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are the
it's no-
stations, they go
no
from
change.
Research Drive, which is Sterling Town Line, and then we're only at Wetland D here, so we are not
Maybe
even
there is.
halfway
53, 4, 5,
through.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is like 2.5 miles, right?
Yeah,
Almost
the
about.
whole thing is about 2.568 or something like that.
You're
Yeah,
just trying to
so,
orient yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but those numbers, 53, 54, 55.
oh, these are
56,
standard
57.
stations. Between each number, there's 100 feet.
Exactly, that's the change, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
okay.
a center line, yes, it's
Yeah,
a,
change along the center line, right? So
yes.
So
Each
50,
100 feet.
550.
From the
560.
Sterling line, or is that this is zero?
It starts, I'm not sure, sometimes I don't know how they start numbering, but it should be on here. Yes, they did start at 10.
10, okay,
So Research Drive is at 10,
So zero,
which
yeah.
means this one is about 54, which,
So
yeah,
that's effectively from the Sterling line.
Yeah.
almost,
Okay.
yeah, more or less.
Oh, no, 10.
100 feet less,
10, okay,
yes,
yeah, 10,
so,
okay, yeah, 1,000 feet, yeah.
yeah. I mean, exactly. So, again, erosion sediment controls are proposed to protect both wetlands and,
There you
this
go.
is Danielle. Sorry for the confusion. But if we're done with this area, we can keep scrolling to the next slide.
And I'm sorry, would you mind just introducing yourself for the record?
Sure.
Just- Yeah.
Danielle Spicer from Green International Affiliates.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
Danielle,
Hi.
Yes, Daniel.
Is there anybody from the DOT here?
Oh, yes, I went to the.
Okay.
Kevin, yes. So this is the next area here. Basically, this is one of the tributaries to Fall Brook in the vicinity of Grand Street and Route 12 intersection.
so I'm sorry, so the blue line is the actual intermittent stream, did you say?
Oh, not intermittent stream. It's a
Tributary?
perennial stream, but it is a
Perennial tributary. Got it,
tributary,
okay, sorry.
yes. So that's why we're showing here our riverfront area. You can see 100 feet and then 200 feet, that pink lines.
Got it, yeah.
So we're doing work within the riverfront area associated with this stream here. And again, we are not doing any work associated with this crossing. You can tell the slope limits, everything ends before that.
So, I'm sorry, everything ends before the intersection?
There is no impact, there is no earth disturbance within the brook here because we're not doing any work associated with this stream crossing.
All the work's on existing pavement. For this
Yes,
section.
yes, existing
Alright.
intersection, existing pavement, and then outside.
And then it goes into a culvert underneath Main
Yes.
Street, right? Because I live in that neighborhood above the stream there, so I'm familiar
Yes,
with
it's a
it.
pretty big culvert
It's a
there.
pretty active stream, actually.
So, the quick question, so within 200 feet of the riverfront, have you looked into the details of that and what their requirements are?
I mean, if they,
The reason I ask is because we've held other people's feet to the fire for being within 200 feet of the riverfront. making sure the calculations are correct. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not increasing impervious surface or anything like that. If they were proposing an increase, then that would come into play.
Okay,
but,
got it,
yeah.
all right, I'm with you.
Yes, it's also important to note that this is basically a redevelopment of the riverfront only. So we are not altering any more of the riverfront here.
Yeah,
than
like Nick
before.
said, you're not increasing
Yes.
the impervious area. Okay, yep, I'm good.
Yes. And we can keep scrolling to the next slide. So this is our next resource area. This is basically where that same tributary comes out after it takes course underneath the intersection through a chain of different pipes. Again, we don't do any work within the stream on the downstream side either. And all of our work here is similarly only located within existing developed riverfront, and then also buffer zones of that wetland that is adjacent to that tributary to Fall Brook.
And again, quick question, each map that we're going further north on the project.
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes, right now, since this is wetland, I can't really see, I think
Well, that's where Bart's farm was, on the
it's
bottom there.
wetland
40s will be
E.
all the way to the right
Yes.
there.
Right.
So wetland E, we're a little bit, we're pretty much halfway through the project.
Okay.
A little north of Grand Street, Beth Street intersection, and we keep going north. Yes. So again, this is our next wetland resource areas, and this is an intermittent stream across from Richard Road and on this other side of Richard Road, yes. We don't do any work there, however, we do show erosion controls to protect the stream during construction. Work here is only associated, again, with, occurs only within buffer zones associated with this stream.
And that's Johnny Appleseed Plaza, right there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not so familiar.
So this is our next tributary to Fall Brook. Again, it flows basically from, yes, in the direction that Nick is showing. We're showing the riverfront area here. And this is where we have a little minor impact to the land and the water associated with this brook on the downstream side. And this is basically has been minimized. We were trying to, have that outflow as far in as possible, but because we need to put pipes at the outfall
We have to
to
daylight at a
protect
certain
it, to
elevation.
daylight, yes. That's the reason for that small impact. Again, orange one is a temporary one, so everything will be restored. And that tiny, tiny bit, I think it's only 10 square feet, is a permanent one. And it is associated with that stone for pipe ends there.
Is that where you and I were yesterday?
Yes. So you can see the tiny little pink,
Yeah.
that's the permanent.
Yes, the tiny pink one is 10 square feet of permanent, and then the other one is basically up to an easement line for the contractor to be able to do this work, to access it.
It's a very small
Very,
area.
And will be restored.
yes, it will be restored. Again, this is the majority of our impacts, actually, right on that slide. We have wetland on the left-hand side across from Chapman Place. Yes, this is where majority of our impacted areas are. It's actually 38 square feet of permanent wetland impact, again associated with that outfall and regrading to basically install it. And then the temporary one up to an easement is for the installation for just construction access. And that one is only 72 square feet. So we are basically, in sum, impacting 38 square feet permanently of BVWs. And to the right of it, you can see our replication area of 100 square feet. So we are replicating a little more in hope for better success of the replicated area. And That's where we are replicating it. And across on the other side from, of the roadway there, this is a isolated vegetated wetland. So we are showing impacts there, 47 square feet, and then 328 of temporary impacts for access. But again, it's because it's isolated wetland, it's not required to be replicated. However, if you even add that impact to the impact of the only small impacted area at BUWG, we're still replicating 100, so.
Can you give me a little detail about what the replication process will actually involve?
Yes, so we are showing the construction access from the Meadow Pond Drive, right there. So this is actually existing lawn field there, so we're not proposing to remove any trees or anything valuable there. That's the reason why we propose the access there. So construction equipment will access there, and then they will basically create hydrological connection and excavate a little bit to create that square
To match the
footage, to match
elevation.
Where's the
elevation.
fire station?
Fire station was across, oh, that's
Last
it.
slide, right?
This
No, I think it's to the left there.
Yeah, it's to the
I
left.
think it's just to the
Oh,
left.
maybe it is.
Okay.
We're right.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, in both impacts were on either side of it.
Mhm.
That's right in here.
Yes, so, and again, the reason why we are proposing that access is just because we wanted to minimize our impact to any areas, and also the slope area is there is a little steep if we were to access from anywhere else. We didn't want to disturb any trees, to remove any trees for constructing this area, so this is a pretty easy, straightforward access to this area. And we were there on site with some of them.
And again, I'm sorry, with the replication, you're gonna be excavating a little bit and matching the grade there. Are you seeding it, or?
Yes, we
With some
are,
kind of
actually,
There's a
we're,
wetland seed.
we're almost done there, but yes, it's only gonna be wetland seed mix, but there is a specific wetland replication plan
Okay.
in
Yeah, I
here.
don't need to see the detail, I was just curious.
Oh,
And-
yes, it shows elevations of existing flags, so the well, during construction, it's actually pretty detailed how
Okay.
they have to
Sure.
match it.
And DOT does require, as part of the wetland replication, wetland scientists be there during construction to review it. So there's a whole big spec with regard to wetland replication that DOT requires.
And that wetland scientist is one of your employees? Or is
No,
that
it would
DOT?
just, the contractor just has to have a certified wetland scientist on board when the wetland replication is being constructed.
Okay,
So it doesn't have to be us, but they just have to have
Okay.
a scientist on board.
gotcha, okay.
So I think the next slide, if we are going down, this is the area that basically, you can see, we're going north again. We're getting towards Fallbrook itself. And it's important to mention, this bridge is being replaced. However, this area is subject to water quality certificate jurisdiction. So we have filed the water quality certificate application already with us DEP. It's currently under review with DEP, and it's basically solely for the replacement of that bridge and its approaches. And however, DEP is reviewing the stormwater report for the entire project as a whole. So
Just one of the
they have
requirements.
it. Yes, it's one of their requirements. But that's the reason why it's shown like this, and we don't have those impacts counted as part of this notice of intent.
Okay.
Is the Army Corps of Engineers involved in this?
Yes, and it's also been filed this week, and they are reviewing this project also as a whole, not by piece, because they have jurisdiction of all the wetlands.
Right, any
It's a
wetlands that
pre-construction.
discharges to a stream, the stream discharges to a river that discharges to the ocean is under.
Yes, yes, waters of the United States, they call it.
And it's
Yes,
a
so
pre-construction notification.
Yes.
PCN, with our.
PCN has been filed and it's currently under review as well.
Thank you.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know if there are any plans, and this is just a request of mine, not a requirement. And if there are any plans to put signs identifying Fallbrook on that new bridge? Has that been a discussion at all?
I don't believe it has, but I can bring it back to the project manager and ask.
Just for,
I
because
like that idea.
driving up the street, nobody pays attention, nobody knows there's a brook under there. And I think increasing public knowledge of various brooks, streams, wetlands, everything, I think we would be a good idea. Again, it's not a requirement, but I think it would be a good idea, just a small fall brook coming from, on either side.
Yeah, we can definitely bring it back to
Cultural resources.
DOT and
Right.
see.
Yeah.
see if
Yeah,
we can-
thank you.
Yeah, we had talked about doing that just as a town anyway, but with
Yeah.
this as a state route, then
Right.
I don't know if we're even allowed to put in signage like that as a town, so
I don't
that
think,
would
I
be
don't
kind
know.
of.
And then I've seen signs of brooks and rivers everywhere, so.
Sure,
Well, I've
Yeah,
done this
I
before.
I can see people
Somebody
going,
has-
oh, I didn't even know there was a brook here, that's.
Yeah.
I hope they'll take it, at least my experience in other states, you need to pay for the signs. I did as a water utility, I had that
Well,
case.
It's a discussion that we
DOT would
can
not
start.
put it in.
We'll at least ask them.
Yeah, we can-
Yes,
Yeah.
I made a
Then they
note
would-
here to bring it up.
And then we'll have a contest to name the bridge as well.
Perfect.
Okay. Did you describe the bridge as built in the NOI or?
The NOI only has a little bit about the bridge, it doesn't tell you
Yeah.
existing proposed conditions.
Yeah.
However,
I'm
it's
curious.
going to be widened, the
Yeah.
bridge is gonna be widened, and the abutments are gonna be built, the existing ones will be cut, and then the proposed are built behind the
To limit the
existing.
amount
So
of
it's
work.
actually gonna be improved crossing for the wildlife and everything. So we have a pretty extensive stream crossing narrative with DP
Nice.
for this project right now, because it's a requirement for them when you're replacing the bridge.
Copy of the water quality certificate should be sent as well to the Concom, so you guys should have a
Good.
copy. Did you not get it
It's
yet?
actually, I don't think I got that in my initial package.
Okay.
I got the stormwater, the NOI, and the plans, I think were the three.
We can double check.
But-
Usually,
DOT's always will send a copy
Yeah.
of the.
yes,
water
if it hasn't been sent, we only filed last week, we can definitely send a copy.
Sure.
Yeah, water
The
quality.
NOI
Please,
did
thank you.
describe the existing structure as lacking in some way. It was, I forget exactly what word was used.
Yes,
There's either-
structurally deficient
Thank you.
and functionally obsolete or something.
Okay.
It basically covers it.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I'm
And
curious.
above
that's
covers.
partly
Yeah.
why
So,
it's being
appreciate it.
replaced.
There,
Yeah.
yes, there
Which
is
is
a
why-
process there when they identify bridges for repairs versus replacement. So this one needed to be replaced to basically accommodate all of the improvements proposed for this Route 12 project, as well as considering its deficiencies due to its age.
Okay, so it's aged out and. it's
Age plus the,
Functional
yes.
obsolescence, can you comment on the functional obsolescence of the
I,
the existing structure?
I'm not exactly
No.
sure, but I'm pretty sure this is more of a problem with the proposed profiles of the roadway, right, Danielle?
Yeah.
Because they are doing the improvements to the roadway.
To allow for the
And they
bike
have
lanes
to-
and such.
Okay.
Yes, bike lanes, sidewalks, all of these
In order to
proposed
accommodate the
sections.
complete streets design that
Complete
looks
streets
towards the
design, yes.
entire profile,
Right,
it wouldn't fit that, it wouldn't fit that, so they
It-
need to replace it.
It wouldn't fit, and it's also basically, I think there's some minor widening occurs on both sides, so it just,
Of
we
the
would just
widening of the
need.
road or of the?
The bridge
Of the-
will
The
be
bridge will be a
provided
little
for
bit
sure,
wider, it's not like-
yeah.
To accommodate the roadway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and bike lanes.
Yeah, okay.
But in general, they usually widen the bridge, not just to accommodate the roadway, but if they can do it, they're trying to comply with stream crossing standards because it's very much important. DP's very thorough about trying to do the maximum possible to improve the crossings.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
we have to go through alternatives for bridges and select best design that will accommodate improved crossings.
You all said, Nick?
Yeah, no, it was a major piece and it
No,
wasn't.
no, I
it
just wanted-
wasn't-
I wanted to make
It
sure
wasn't
I-
given any, almost no mention in the.
No, I said, I want to make sure that you're all set, that's fine.
Yeah.
Going back to public awareness of wetland resources in the city. Sign would be great. coming up here this evening, that's the way I came, and the sides of the bridge, railing, whatever the heck it's called, is just concrete, you know, 50, 60, 70-year-old concrete. Nobody came to see the brook. What is that gonna, is it still gonna be concrete on the new one? Is it gonna be railings? Do you have any idea?
There is some railings.
Reason I ask is if people could actually see the brook driving by or
Then it's a
walking by,
little bit
that'd
more,
be great.
yeah. I would have to look at the bridge details.
Okay.
Yes,
Just
I
curious.
mean,
Again,
I
not
have my
critical.
laptop with me, but because this is not the jurisdiction, that's
Yeah.
the reason why we don't have this here,
No,
and off of my
that's
head,
fine.
I can't exactly remember the
Again,
rating.
just the
But I know
public
it's all gonna
awareness
be
of
replaced, because that's as much as I remember
Okay.
it has to be.
it. All
I
right.
guess one more, was this structure compromised during the flooding event? Was it overtopped or compromised?
I don't believe it was compromised. I never heard anything from
I don't think it was
DPW about
overtopped.
this bridge. I
It
know
wasn't
was
over, it
eroded.
wasn't overtopped.
Oh, if it was compromised, then it's even more functionally obsolete, so.
I know there was
Now,
some,
yet more reason to get rid of it.
I know there was some major erosion around the bridge on
Yeah,
the downstream
the
side
scouring.
especially.
Scouring.
Yeah, because the trailer park there had to remove a tree that had started to lean and threaten to like pull the bank up out.
Okay.
Yes, and this is where you see those lines, it's basically, what they're gonna do there is
Why-
regrade
why-
and protect the bank from two sides.
The
The,
bubbles,
the
yeah.
darker wavy lines on the
Mhm, yeah.
edges.
Is that to be filled with all
Mhm.
riprap?
Yes, you can see the riprap hatch that will be.
It's a
in there.
riprap hatch
There'll be
that will
armoring,
protect
yeah.
and stabilize the bank and that current erosion that's happening on that side that Nick mentioned. It's basically
Like right
going
there.
to be fixed.
Yeah, the southwest
in the
corner
end.
has the most amount, so that has the most
Yeah.
amount of riprap.
We were there on
Are
site.
you
yeah.
proposing to install riprap underneath the bridge as well?
Yes, yes, there will be riprap.
It's,
underneath.
it's all required, yes. Right
Yeah.
now, there is like a ledge there and some other pieces of structure, and they're gonna replace it with this is called channel armoring, and then it's gonna be topped with a layer of natural stream bed to restore it.
Oh, so this isn't gonna be a box culvert, this is gonna be a
It's a bridge.
button.
Bridge is,
button
Yeah.
bed. Okay.
Yes, it's a bridge, yes. And as I said, we will send a courtesy copy that was filed with more details for the bridge, so that anyone who is interested can get familiar with that.
And that's the
And,
entirety of the project, right?
I think
The wetland impacts. and-
wetlands, yes, the next one is, if anyone wanted to see, I think the next slide had just little details on the application area, but it's pretty
Oh, yeah.
straightforward.
Yep.
Yes, and then the other slides, it's only for if you happen to ask questions. It shows some erosion controls, some inlet protection details, etc.
All right.
And some sections in case if you had questions about what the roadway typical section will look like.
So how many hurdles are left before construction could start?
The advertisement of this project is in August of 2024.
Construction hours, how's it?
Yes, and
It-
then from
Yeah, notice to
then,
proceed probably would be until the end of the year, construction will
Yes.
most likely start,
Yeah.
next spring.
spring.
But we still, so we've, as Oksana mentioned, we've submitted with DEP as well as Army Corps, so we're waiting to get those permits. And then this, and then once we get that all set, we will hopefully be advertising in August.
Yes.
What do you think the duration of the project is? It's nothing to do with us, I'm
I think it's
curious.
3 to 4 years, 3 to 4
I
years.
think,
I think it's basically,
It's a three.
So you may need to actually extend your inner line.
we will probably have to come in for an
Okay.
extension.
That's fine.
Yes,
Unless
because
we
of
get
the
all that.
bridge, it's usually
Yeah.
longer.
Mhm.
But I think
But
overall it'll be 3 to
again-
4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. If you guys could make sure you're speaking one at a time, so,
It's very difficult for the transcriber on tape
that too, yeah.
and people watching on TV,
Yeah.
and us trying to listen.
And also, sometimes we're just as bad as you guys, so, no, I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but trying to be helpful, that's all.
So, excuse me if I'm naive with this, but can somebody identify for me where, given DEOT's work and the application with the Army Corps and the application of DEP, what is our role? That is not redundant of those.
So notice of intent, is everything outside of the Fall River Brook. So basically, the,
DEP is
DEP 's
directly only
only-
concerned with Fall Brook.
because it's just
Fall Brook, okay.
their jurisdiction is
They're
the
not looking at the
footprint
rest,
bridge.
and the
They're not.
Corps
They're not,
is
the Corps is
only
looking at everything.
at the
Okay.
whole
The Corps
thing.
has
yeah.
jurisdiction with
Okay.
everything.
Some different interests, thank you, that
Um,
answers that.
Good question.
How many layers do we need?
Oh, we can always add more. Love it.
Jim,
Jim,
could you go back to
I can do that
the,
again, I can write it. Thank
could you
you.
go back to the colored map?
Yes.
Thought I had your names down, apparently I did.
And if you just pull that up a little, you say the DP means discharge points.
Right.
How, where is it discharging to? Is there a storm, do we have a storm collection system?
There is a brand-new closed drainage collection system throughout the entire project. And there are, as you can see, there are multiple outfalls. Those are all existing discharge points that we are mimicking for the majority with regard to, so stormwater improvements will include the new closed drainage system for the majority of the project.
Has there been any thought given to catch basins where the water just injects into the ground below the catch basin?
So there's one area near the Fall River Brook where we looked at this entire corridor for potential stormwater mitigation. It is very, very difficult corridor. It's very developed. There's a lot of utilities. There's a lot of site constraints. And groundwater in certain areas is very high. There's one area near the brook that we actually are doing one leaching basin is being proposed. It's really just one catch basin that we're basically having discharged to a leaching basin, then it would overflow back into the closed drainage system for larger storms. That was the only area where we could find that was feasible to do something like that. We're limited on so many site constraints in this entire corridor with regard to other types of stormwater mitigation.
And so has there been consideration given to how much flow from this closed system is discharging into these wetlands?
So we do have, there's a full stormwater report that is included with it, and that's actually both you and DEP will be reviewing. And so it's a redevelopment project, so we're meeting to the maximum extent practical with regard to peak rate analysis. For water quality, it's mainly 25% TSS removal with just the catch basin, deep sumps and
Still
hoods.
suspended salts. What about petroleum?
There
Salt, sodium, and PAHs?
So we don't test for PAHs or any of that type of stuff, so the traditional systems that we're putting in are just catch basins with deep sumps and hoods that would treat for TSS and oils and your hydrocarbons. But other than that, your catch basins aren't going to treat for anything else.
Okay, thank you.
And that stormwater should be on the drive as well, if you want to review that more detail.
Well, yeah, I'm just, because of the nature of that road, there's a lot of oil spilled
Right.
on that road. And when it rains, it just goes over to the side and goes into the catch basin and down to the
Yeah,
river.
and again, it's a very has been a heavily developed area for many, many years.
Yeah, I've lived there 37 years, so
Yeah.
I
So you
sense
know
the
that.
street.
So I think to properly take care of all the hydrocarbons, antifreeze, PAHs, everything else, I think will make this project almost infeasible.
We need to get the water off the roads,
Right,
so the cars stay on the roads.
right.
And that's what the drainage system is designed for, is to, I mean, it's a closed drainage system that's designed for Mass DOT requirements, and, you know, the stormwater requirements with getting, you know, the closed drainage system's been designed for the appropriate storm event, that will be a significant improvement over existing conditions.
Nick, you had something?
Yeah, I had a related question. Did you find any opportunities to reduce permeable or reduce impervious surfaces? Using, for example, impervious pavements or?
So there wasn't the option to actually introduce permeable pavement, mainly due to the site constraints, because we've got a lot of underground utilities
Yeah.
that are throughout the project, so we're not, and especially when you've got gas and stuff like that, they won't allow you to do
Sure.
any of that. So that wasn't feasible. What we looked at is where we could potentially do any stormwater mitigation, just to offset, knowing that we couldn't do permeable surfaces. And again, it's a really tight, very developed area that it's really tough when you're within the right way to find that. Like I said, we found one leaching catch
Just,
basin
yeah.
near the Fall Brook to be able to help a little bit of infiltration. And we also really tried to focus more around that because that's the area that discharges to the brook. So we were like, if we can
Okay.
put anything with, within the project order, let's focus within the direct discharges to the Fall Brook to try to improve that.
Well, otherwise, there's a lot of utility lines effectively buried
Yes,
underneath Route
yes.
12 and
Yeah.
under the sidewalk as well, or?
I believe they're all throughout the entire corridor.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
Well, I think we've effectively covered this pretty well. Is there any
Just
fun?
one-
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
quick, really
Yep.
quick. Can you just confirm that you looked at like an endangered species map? There's nothing in
Yes.
any, okay.
Good question.
They're actually mapped right here.
Oh, I didn't-
Those yellow stripes,
The hatch that.
the
Okay.
hatch, yes.
Oh.
We call it a hatch. These are the NHSP areas for the priority habitat,
yeah.
yes.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Lincoln Woods
Lincoln
is the
Woods, yeah.
closest one to the project. However, as you can see, our red limit of work does not extend nearly close to
And
that
that's-
area.
Cool.
That's uphill from Route 12 as well,
Yeah,
this
that's
area.
a good question, like that.
Wait, related to that, you did say you found a potential vernal pool in the southern part of the project area?
Yes, it's right in the
Eastern side of the
beginning
road?
next to the Sterling Town Line. That's the one that's called potential vernal pool.
Yeah,
And it is surrounded by wetland A, yes.
Okay.
And we're not impacting it,
okay.
so that's basically it. But it is flagged by the wetland scientist as a potential vernal pool due to the characteristics.
So that's as close as you get, as opposed to the.
Yes.
That is this one, right? The first
Yes.
one? Yep.
All right. Anybody else, questions?
I just got a
comments?
quick question, one I'd like to ask is, will be responsible for the maintaining the facilitation areas around the project? It's a pretty big project, should be very nice for Leominster, but is there any kind of weekly,
So the contractor will be responsible for
contractor.
maintaining the erosion sediment controls. The project will be disturbing more than an acre, so they will be needing to get a NIPDES permit through EPA. So they'll have strict requirements with needing to comply with the SWIP and the NIPDES permit with regard to that.
so it's a contractor?
Yes.
Anybody else? All right. So, with nothing else, no, obviously we need to continue this because no DEP number yet, who knows when we'll get that.
No.
And you, plus you got your core permits and everything else too, so.
This is a tough region.
You should note though, there's nobody here to ask questions.
Yes, yeah, and also, there's nobody else in the audience, so there's no, there will be no questions from the audience, so no need to close that portion. So, and again, so just to going over the comments from the last hearing, so.
We don't close that portion anyways.
Right, that's right,
Until we're
exactly.
ready to vote, which means we're satisfied that there's a number.
Right.
Or we don't care there's not a number, but that doesn't happen
No,
legally.
right, yeah. So then, I'll entertain a motion then to continue the hearing until, are we thinking May 28th?
We can continue it until then, if we have nothing new, then I'll let you guys
Yeah.
know, we didn't want it to come in, and we could just continue it at that time
Yeah.
until the next one.
So, with that, thank you, so that, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing until hopefully May 28th.
Or the soonest meeting thereafter, once the DEP number's
Correct.
there. But we do need to include a date when we do that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So moved.
Thank you, Rich, second?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Bob?
Jim Bob.
Yeah, good, okay, you both Jim Bob now,
I'll take the commission's vote by roll. Bob Seacard,
Aye.
Jim Chambers,
Aye.
Steph Quinlan,
Aye.
Nick Benty, Mike Seeke, Rich Gullick,
Aye.
and Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
All right, so we will continue that until the 28th. I'll let you know what we're doing.
All right.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, and I apologize for the snafu of being here.
It happens.
You're all very well spoken on
That
that.
happens.
Yeah, you got here, so. All right.
Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
Right. Anybody need to take a break or anything? Everybody else set? Okay. All right, moving on then to the regular meeting under communications. Mechanic Street clearing, parcel 372-3. That's that one down, the little triangle there, but no, the big triangle,
Yep.
like 190.
Down behind Johnny Rowe Park, so
Right.
actually pull it up here. So we're talking about talking about this area right in here. There we go.
Gotta get a mouse.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
it quite fell.
I have a mouse, but it's just stuck in there. So this is Johnny Rowe Park right
I was
here.
gonna have them move along so we don't have echoes.
Crosstalk.
I'll get
Go ahead. Oh, you got it? Okay, thanks. Just have them move downstairs or something. Thank you, Nick.
So
It's right
basically,
where it crosses, Mechanic crosses 190, that looks like.
Yep.
yeah, so the landfill is up by this way. The connector splits, you go up the hill, you drive past the landfill. This is Mechanic Street down here. Goes under the bridge, Johnny Appleseed Lane, and then Johnny Rowe Park is right here. So the area we're talking about is right here. You can see the area of clearing. The satellite image was taken, I think, this past spring, like in the last couple of months. So Brian Marchetti with McCarty Engineers was contacted by Guido, the landowner there, and he is going to be working with Guido in developing a replication plan. Matt Morrow had just recently reflagged the area in connection with that, and Brian, I just spoke to Brian this morning, and he let me know that their surveyor had been out there in the last couple of days, so he's just getting that site plan together, and he's gonna have a meeting with Guido probably sometime this week and lay that plan out and discuss, you know, what he wants to do with that site, but it'll probably just end up being a replication of the whole site.
Okay.
Well, we're waiting to hear from that. He said he's expecting that to be ready by sometime in June.
June. Any thoughts on, I guess that's pretty soon, it's the next meeting, where I was getting at, are there any thoughts about having them get that to us sooner, but next meeting's May 28th in June, so
Yeah,
never
June
mind.
is shockingly soon.
Yeah, correct,
Yeah,
yes.
I think they're getting it done.
The question is moot.
I think they're getting it done as soon as possible, as they can at this point. It has been a long time, but most of that period in the last like 8 months, you know, he hadn't contacted Brian and started working on anything. That all started in the last few weeks, so
Okay.
they're actually moving now.
Okay.
You know, so,
Oh, that's a good update.
yeah. But I'm gonna be in touch with Brian and he'll let me know if anything changes, but we should be expecting them in June.
Okay. Jim?
How do they get access into there?
So this is actually the parking lot for Johnny Rowe Park. And as you can see, it's part of the parcel that has the violation. So I think the property lines and access to the site is also a factor that Guido is dealing with, because he had plans to develop the site at some point, which you might remember from when he and his associate had come to the meeting to discuss this parcel. You know, he stated that he was planning on developing this and putting something here, but I think the access to the site, along with the requirements from the Wetland Protection Act, are factors that he's dealing with right now and trying to figure out what he wants to get done there, what he can get done there, really.
Okay, and also, I was under the impression that this was all part of the Leominster State Forest, Johnny Rowe State Forest, all that land in between.
No.
No, but there was an issue with the old paper street, that's where Nashua Street.
Right, well, there used to be, years ago, in the 20s, 30s, or whatever, there was an amusement park down here.
Oh, you're talking about down by Babe Ruth Fields and Johnny Appleseed State Park, all the state-owned land.
Yeah,
That's down-
okay,
That's down by
okay.
here, that's down
All
river.
right, I'm misoriented, I thought that was the same.
Yeah, that's down behind,
Gotcha.
that's down behind Lowe's, this is Lowe's here, the Nashua
The
River.
dam down there. too.
Yeah, that's where the dam is that we're trying to maybe get removed or dealt with and
Okay.
maybe turn this into a more park, but.
Thank you.
That's all down the river.
That clears
ways.
that up, thank you.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll hear something from them in June then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's really amazing to me that, are there big piles of cut trees there?
Yeah.
on the property? You know, I travel that road just about every day, and I never saw a log truck come out of there, and it's just kind of amazing, because it looks like it's pretty well clear cut.
Yeah. They had finished by the time, like, he was stacked, he had logs stacked up by the time I got there, told him to wrap up, and he was hauling them out.
Yeah, he was trying, well, the time I stopped in last fall, he was basically stacking brush.
Yeah. But they had put in erosion controls in the form of hay bales down along here,
Mhm.
which you can't see in the image here, but they are down there, so.
When was that photo taken?
Sometime in the spring, based on some other things that I'm seeing from this image. But they refresh these satellite images every couple of months.
There were no leaves on the hardwood trees, so it was late fall. It's like early
Is this
spring, maybe.
actually linear?
What will happen with
Yeah,
the
this is more
parking
recent,
in County Road
so it's
Park?
in the spring, I think. Johnny Road Park? That's part of the issues
Discussion.
that they're dealing with. That's why it's probably gonna end up being a replication, because I don't know how he's gonna develop anything back there without
Right.
causing big issues, so.
Yeah. All right,
So that's the status of that.
good update, thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Elm Street clearing, parcel 519-12A.
Yeah, so I got in touch with Steve Harper. I met with him, I think, prior to the last meeting, and he said that Tom Christopher was the wetland specialist who was supposed to be working on the restoration plan for this. And I think prior to the last meeting, Steve had mentioned to me, you know, I thought he was done, he was supposed to send it over to me, but I haven't seen it and all this stuff. So Steve finally sent it over to me. It looks like from the dates on here that it was done April 22nd. But for some reason, he just didn't get it from Tom Christopher at that time. So I did put that on the drive. I have a copy here if someone would like to read, or I could pull it up on the screen. But basically, it just, you know, states the existing site conditions, existing being after all the clearing, because that's when Tom Christopher first saw the site. You know, he went with Matt Morrow on April 15th and April 17th to a site visit. It's got the existing species in the wetland area south of all the clearing, and
It says here, you need to correct that for us.
yes, what? Say it.
The fact that it says north side on both sections. So my first, I have a couple questions and many comments on
Okay,
this.
sure,
I
yeah.
have gone through it. But the first one says the forested area to the north side includes these species. And then it says below that, the forested area to the north side includes these species. Now I have my guess as to which is the south side, the wetland, but I'd like you to clarify that.
So I believe the top is the north side.
This sentence is the same as
Yeah,
that sentence.
yeah, copy paste.
No, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
We didn't update it.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the first one is the south and then the north, the bottom one's the wetland, because it's got the associated wetland grasses.
Um,
The bottom one would be the wetland,
yeah.
and that's the uphill where it was clear.
So actually, I believe
To the
the,
north side of what?
North side of the flagging, but it says north on
Of
both.
the flagging, okay.
Yeah.
And one's gotta say the other side.
Right.
so I think the first table there is for the south of the flagging,
That's what I
actually.
thought.
Because I know there's a stand of Phragmites right up in here,
You got it,
which
okay.
is on the southern
Thank
end,
you.
so.
So you can go ahead and then I'll wait till you're done presenting.
But yeah, that's basically, you know, they mentioned, the existing site conditions. There was one point on here that I do, disagree with, because we have the, site plans from the construction of this house on the parcel just to the west of this site.
Right.
That shows wetland delineated along the road down here, and then a finger stretching up
Yeah.
into this area. So they do mention in closing here that, you know, basically, yeah, while it is the opinion of CEA that the clearing and trenching activities did not occur within a wetland, they're clearly within the 100-foot buffer. That's basically it. So they're just saying they didn't find any evidence of wetlands within this area when they did their survey in the last month. But, I mean, that doesn't really matter to me, frankly, because they have delineation from that site before the clearing from a wetland specialist that shows wetland delineated up into what has been cleared now,
And
so.
that owner
Yeah,
is the same
yes.
as the current owner we're dealing with.
Yes, so he's so aside from that, you know, he is recommending, I'll just read from here.
Can you, I'm gonna go through those
Yeah,
and comment on each,
yes, please,
if you want. me
feel
to.
free.
I didn't see, was that in the drive? I didn't see that.
It was,
Oh, I didn't see it.
at least at 5:15 today. 5 o'clock when I looked at it. So my-
I didn't
If I
get it
were
up
to
there
ask
until
the-
yesterday, but it is on there.
I didn't understand part of the purpose of this. The original part, it's talking about whether that was a wetland in the cleared area or not.
Uh-huh,
We didn't really say it was or was. I mean, you're saying the old mapping hands.
yeah,
But I didn't understand why that was a question. We didn't call that a wetland other than the previous, and we're gonna go by the previous
Mhm.
mapping anyways, because that's what counts,
With the
not
previous
what they
conditions,
changed it to.
right.
He mentions, although generally well drained, the surface runoff's negligible to high, depending on mineral content. Where's he going with this?
I'm not sure.
Minimal to high?
This thing,
Seems kind of an odd term.
Negligible.
negligible to high,
Negligible to high.
from 0 to infinity.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Then there's 3 soil pits that were dug to
Yes.
determine whether or not that area is a wetland. I don't get this either, why that was done. I don't understand what purpose that has for developing the site rate stabilization and restoration plan or for anything that we would want. So it's really the owner's business, but we didn't ask for test pits or anything like that, did we? We asked for
No.
a stabilization and restoration plan.
Right.
So I'll read through the 6 of them. To me, it seems like stabilization and not restoration. Okay, so the first one is, before there any work, they want to install some siltation fencing, right, buried 4 inches below, to prevent siltation from entering into the lower area, the wetland area, from the area that's been cleared,
Yeah.
basically, no problem. Then the excavated trench should be filled and brought to existing grade.
Which,
This,
that is partially done right now, I should
this
mention.
needs to, and we should get involved in that. If we want it back to original conditions, it was supposed to be the same soil that was removed, and it probably should be packed and not put in just loosely, because that's not the same permeability or hydraulic connectivity of it. This goes on to say if drainage piping or stone is used to alleviate it, which we said they can't do.
Right.
So why is that in there? This,
The stone and the piping was supposed to be pulled out of there.
yes.
Which they are, I've spoken with Steve Harper, he is removing the stone. as
If
he's
that
building the
is,
trench,
then there's, you know, blah, blah, blah. So then excavated stumps, the ones that are already out, are to be removed, taken off the property.
so.
That's number 3, no problem. No further stumps should be excavated or buried. Then all areas of bare ground should be seeded with New England wildlife and conservation mix at a certain rate, covered with stray haw. Okay. But what about the trees that were taken down? Because that would be restoration, to be putting trees back up.
Right.
It is not restoration to cut trees down in anticipation of developing the property and then plant the grass.
Plant wildflowers
This
and
seems like a
grass, yeah.
development plan, not a restoration plan, and how they're moving forward to continue to develop the property, even though they cut the trees down illegally and hadn't come before this commission.
I do believe there is some mention in there about allowing existing stumps to
Next
resprout.
next one,
yes.
number 5, is remaining unexcavated stumps shall be allowed to resprout
Mhm.
to provide wildlife habitat
Make it
for
right.
terrestrial
Rules
or
say
aquatic
go.
species. So that's how the trees get restored. And then it goes on about invasive species and controlling those. So my question to the commission is, where do we end up in cases where somebody has gone and knowingly or not followed the law, move forward with development plans, and then we get into this position, or do we accept that or not? And I guess one of the questions is, what would this commission have done if an original NOI came before us? And even if we were to approve that, are we okay with that moving forward on and on? As to, then if we get a reputation to say, okay, all forgiven, how do we end up in the future? So I just wanted to throw that out.
How does
I
that
am not
relate
a
to
fan
the?
of I would not approve this as a restoration plan, but would appreciate more comments before I form my final opinion.
Well, I think your opinion is very well thought out. I'm wondering how that affects the Mechanic Street property, because have we asked him to replant trees?
Whereas he's developing a plan
Exactly.
such as this right now, so they're a little behind where
Well,
we're at
and
with
and
this.
so,
one,
as, well, you're talking about consistency, that's where
Yes,
I
I
think
mean,
we.
and Chuck will warn us, as he's warned me, we don't have to be exactly the same every time. Every case can be
Every case
different.
has its own merits.
But I want the consistency, as same with chicken coops.
Yeah.
Kind of consistency.
Right.
So what do we do with that? I'm not saying I have the answer.
Yeah.
Do we make people replant trees or not? And do we, is that, each wetland, I would assume, would be a little more important, some people more important than others. This one is largely a drainage corner and is not a hugely impactful wetland, shall I say.
And also, in terms of their effort to allow unexcavated stumps to resprout, well, that's fine if you're a red maple. A white pine's not gonna resprout from the stump.
Yeah.
They simply don't do that, that's not how they grow. So obviously, they obviously removed a whole bunch of white pines. I would like to see, my opinion would be X number of trees that don't resprout from stumps, i.e. white pines.
Okay, how many trees to replace
Replant
the
them,
old
yeah,
ones?
yeah.
Go
I
back
mean,
to
if
where you
red
were.
maples, that's fine, let them go, they'll just go crazy. But white pines won't do that.
Okay. I want to hear from our commissioners what they think.
Any other thoughts?
This principle of what do we do? Not sure.
What is delineated as the wetland area? Do we have
We
any
don't have that
maps on
in front of us
anything?
right now, but, unless Nick.
We do from
Just pull it
the
up.
plan from the one before.
Right, before it was raped and pillaged.
Actually, I don't have it uploaded electronically, so.
Did you have access to LiDAR?
Yes.
As you said, it was the area that hasn't been cleared, and then a finger going up into the area that has been
Right.
cleared.
I'm not very good at interpreting LiDAR, but you are supposed to be able to determine variations in vegetation as a result of the.
So it doesn't, it's not gonna be helpful for that, but this LiDAR, you can actually see the trench that was delineated as wetlands before.
Now, this whole development, if I may, would be within the wetland buffer area, similar to one on Wildflower, if I
Yeah.
recall.
Yep.
The one that we turned down, and then they appealed and DEP approved.
Yeah. With comment, yeah.
Because we thought too much, a
Yeah.
larger, 90% was within the
Correct.
buffer.
Yeah.
This whole development would be within the buffer. So how important is this collection zone compared to the one in Wildflower? To me, not quite as sensitive as the Wildflower
Yeah.
one was.
So here's the house, right here. This is Hill Street, Hill Street. This is all wet down here by the corner. And then there was a finger of wetland that was delineated
Right.
up here,
Yep.
And you can see
I
it
think, is that where he
trenched. Yep.
calls that, done by the,
That's where they were complaining.
an
that someone had-
isolated water pocket created by improper lot grading by the abutting neighbor.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're referencing here, yeah.
It doesn't say it's from the previous map, but they say the wetland north of the flagging is not within the cleared area and presumed to be outside of the boundary line.
Do you know on the LiDAR, what's the name of the LiDAR?
And they got a population of phragmites located upstream, more characteristic of isolated land subject to flooding.
Yeah.
Or in
Not
this
sure.
case, that pocket. I don't accept their blaming their other.
No. 2013 to 2021.
Yeah, so we should be looking at, maybe that wetland, as a negative relief feature. The finger of the wetland as a negative relief feature there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was, that's just a matter of the surface topography, basically.
Yeah, right. And there is sensitive fern and other wetland indicator plants that are popping up
Yeah.
over there.
Are there? I haven't been
Yeah.
out there.
Again,
In the
like,
cleared area or the?
in the cleared area, you can't say, I mean, you can't do a proper vegetation survey and say like, I mean, there's sensitive fern, which is a wetland
They cleared
indicator.
everything.
Yes, but then you can't say that it's truly a wetland there just based off of that, if
We're
we didn't
not.
have the mapping already as well.
It's buffer zone as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's a piece of data, there is
At the
sensitive
buffer
fern
zone at the
popping up
very
over
least.
there, so.
I mean, it's a clear negative feature there on the LiDAR.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. And it does appear artificial, but it was existing there and
Yeah.
delineated as wetland, so.
So do we base what we do in some of these based on how important we think the receptor is? I mean, is the purpose of that to mostly get the water away and under the road? Or
Our,
do we,
um,
it was a beautiful wildflower field over on the other side that's gone now because the house is there. We didn't stop that. That was the pretty part.
I mean, this house here?
Yeah, yeah, that was all wildflowers.
our
Wetland.
duty is
Okay.
to, as the commission, is to bring sites out of compliance, back into compliance, the best way that you can decide how, so. They're clearly out of
And prevent
compliance.
damages, et cetera, et
Yep,
cetera.
and yep, for the,
So we can get them in compliance by approving what they did illegally. That gets them in compliance.
right,
Yeah,
Technically,
I don't
yeah.
think
Right.
that's
While
in the
upholding-
spirit of,
while upholding the interests of the act is kind of
Yeah.
the color.
like, that doesn't protect the resource area,
Mhm.
which
Right.
is what we're at, like, what we're here for, you know,
Mhm.
like, as far as the state of Massachusetts goes, not just like the Leominster city,
Mhm.
like, permitting.
Right.
Like, we're here to protect the resource areas.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And,
And help people get through this process also at the same time. But to protect the process to protect the resource. I agree with you.
Mhm.
No, well, first of all, a question for you, Nick. Are they waiting for our comments on this? What was this for?
So I believe we had asked them to fill in the trench and develop a replication plan for
Okay.
us to agree upon
Okay.
and issue an enforcement order to allow them to do that work, because they still need an order or some kind of permit
Okay.
from us to do work within the thing. Right now, they have a cease and desist except for
Right.
to replace the
Right, okay.
trench, you know.
No, I can see that some of the comments, if we have mentioned, that occurred to me. So if we have them plant, let's say, white pines, white pines are a facultative upland plant, which means that they have really nothing to do with wetlands. So I'm not sure how far that'll get us. Where I'm going with that, I have no idea, but I think, okay, well, you've got wetlands to protect here, go plant some white pines. Nah, they kind of don't go together.
How is that protected? Is there gonna be damage there from what was done?
So,
And we know it didn't follow the law and can we get permission, but will it really affect it? And how do we balance the two
So
and avoid precedent?
might I suggest a possible next step? We can, I can get in touch with Matt Morrow, who is working with Tom Christopher on this, and ask them to develop a planting map and accounting for the area of wetland which was cleared, which is kind of our assumption based on this. And maybe one area could be like with a wetland seed mix and other areas with an upland seed mix, and then maybe some additional tree plantings or something in there. I'd have to give them something specific.
I would like something
follow up
more
on this.
restorative. Don't call it restorative when it's not,
Uh-huh,
or just call it stabilization.
right.
If you want
So,
restorative, that meant trees.
so would you,
Yeah.
maybe the best thing would be to just ask Matt or someone who's actually developing this restoration, either Matt or Tom Christopher. I understand Tom Christopher's having some personal issues, he might not be able to come in.
Okay.
But Matt is working with him on this, so maybe have Matt come in as a representative of this restoration and hammer out some of the
I think to
details.
discuss this in person would go a
Yeah.
long way.
I'm curious why a second wetlands person was brought in. This is not a company, it's a single house. Matt had already delineated this, right? Was it Matt the time before? Or no? maybe
No,
it
he had not
wasn't
delineated
Matt.
this
Okay,
before.
never mind.
No one delineated it, there's flagging on the trees, but that was all limit of work. And then
That's
Matt
not
came
it.
in on the 15th for the first time on this project.
Yeah, that part's neither here nor there at this
Can I
point.
ask a question?
You may?
Why are we not asking the contractor, who should know, if anyone?
Yeah, we've mentioned that before, yeah.
Why are we not asking the contractor to come in here and help us understand, as a business operating in Leominster, doing site development, that he doesn't know that the Wetland Protection Act exists?
They claim the owner didn't know, and it was the same owner we went through.
If
And that owner
an
claimed that.
electrician comes into my house and does something illegal, it's not up to me to understand the electrical codes. It's up to the contractor that does
Fair
it,
enough.
to understand
That's,
the law.
that's a very good point.
So this
Um,
contractor who had worked on this, I've worked with them before, they're well aware of the Wetland Protection Act. They worked at Whitney Carriage before, doing things, I've met with them at Whitney Carriage. I think their stance is that it's the property owner's responsibility to secure that permitting and keep track of it, which in, Whitney Carriage's case, like the other area, they take care of all that. It's not this contractor, he's not involved.
The contractor did the action and violated the law.
That's-
Not only
that's
the
my
owner
point.
violated the law.
Right. I understand that, I understand the frustration, but again, enforcement's in violation that carries with the property, so it's the property owner's
Can we,
responsibility.
can we even call in a contractor for something like that? Is that something?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we can compel them to.
Yeah.
My understanding from our discussion there, from the owner and from Mr.
Harper?
Harper,
Yeah.
was that where did they go with it? They thought that the owner person had claimed they didn't know there was a wetland there.
Yeah.
So the contractor may be well aware of the Wetlands Protection Act, but didn't realize that was a wetland area. And in all seriousness, it doesn't necessarily look like one unless you walk down into it.
No, it doesn't.
It's just that corner.
Right.
It's a drainage corner.
And it had been flagged for several years, so many of the flags are probably missing, and, there's a reasonable doubt there. But it doesn't, truly, it really doesn't matter either
Well,
way.
and
Yeah.
some of the slightly lack of doubt is the fact that they're stopped where they stopped was where it got wet.
Right.
Right.
So they must have known it was wet, or they
Right.
wouldn't have used that as the board.
Correct.
Appreciate your comments, Commissioner.
I have a question. Are we having a hearing on the redevelopment plan right now, or are we doing something else?
Well, that's kind of what I was asking. What is this and where are we going with this?
What are we doing?
So, my suggestion, please weigh in, would be to have Matt and/or Tom Christopher come in and go over our concerns with this and have them come back with an amended plan.
Yeah, this was not a hearing.
No, it was not, no.
No,
This is
no,
just a discussion.
An NOI has not been applied for, that's why there is a violation.
Right, there's a cease and desist.
I understand,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now we want them to apply, we want them to apply with an NOI to make it legal.
Yes.
And we either say okay to what you did, or here now you have to do something different as part of your NOI.
Yeah.
Is that the only pathway to approach the commission through an NOI?
You could ask, RDA?
RDA's and.
Request for determination of
yeah.
applicability,
Yeah.
but that's already been determined. We
Right,
know
we're
that
well past
lower
that.
area is wet.
We know there's a wetland there, so.
So there's no backdoor here effectively. We want to tell the party to submit an NOI.
No, we're having them restore what was done, bring the site back into compliance, and we can do that through an enforcement order.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to work with them in developing that before just
Okay.
issuing an
Right,
enforcement.
exactly.
We could issue an enforcement order right now.
And
If someone wanted-
not do an NOI. And if they try to develop it someday, then an NOI would come through.
Right.
So yes, there are a couple ways to do it through
So
the NOI.
this is
enforcement.
effectively, this is a way to approach this.
Yeah, so my recommendation is to have Tom and/or Matt come in.
Yep.
Discuss our concerns with this plan, and have them come back with an amended one that more closely meets what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Does that sound appropriate?
Assuming we have an idea what we're looking for, as a group.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that'll come out during the conversation. I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was gonna say, it seems like people are on the side of looking for restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there are any major differences in that. Unless somebody wants to voice an opinion now. I think we're all more or less,
Yeah, we have-
of the same opinion.
Well, just
Jim?
talked about bringing that person that did the clearing in. Could he come and give us some sort of inventory of what he took down, so we know what was there?
Probably not.
Are there photos? And while we're asking for replication, I wouldn't necessarily push to replace every tree.
No,
But
no.
what percentage of them would we replace?
Right.
And how many were there?
That's what, at that point, we're gonna be basically making up a number unless we know
Yeah.
some type of objective standard to measure against, but I don't know one.
There were stumps on the property.
Yeah, but a lot of them are pulled in.
But they're there. Oh, they're in a pile.
Oh, they're still in a pile?
Well, they're,
Well,
according to this,
if they
they're,
didn't take some before we.
Yeah, there were 2 piles now.
There were some,
Yeah.
there is some evidence, there is some evidence.
you can
of-
count, and there were some big ones.
Yeah.
There is some evidence.
It's hard to restore 100, 200-year-old trees.
Yeah, and it's hard, I mean, like, asking them to plant new trees, like, that's difficult too, because like trees require, you know, you gotta baby them for a
Yeah,
while,
I
right? They need a lot of water, like,
Yeah.
right. You know, who's accountable for making sure those trees
Survive.
succeed?
I have some mixed feelings, given it is a drainage corner,
Mhm.
yet it's still a legal wetland
Still,
area.
it's still a wetland.
It's still a wetland, and this owner did or should have known
Mhm.
that this was required. And then what would we have done? I don't know.
Yeah.
Would we let them clear the trees to do it? In the
Well, we
case
would have
of
required-
Wildflower, we did not, but then we got,
But that wasn't a drainage corner.
yeah, it was a bigger, more involved wetland area.
Yeah.
Yes,
Actually had a stream going through it, didn't
yeah, and a stream, and it was more than just one drainage corner. So
Right.
to me, that was a more important spot to try to, and we still lost when DEP, so to speak, got overruled, right? So if they were to apply for a house here, and we're gonna take up most of that area and remove all the trees, would we have approved it? If we didn't, DEP might have overruled again if it was
Yeah.
appealed.
Yep.
So I have mixed feelings, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it sounds to me like we probably should have, like I said, Matt and or Tom come in.
I'd like to
and
get
discuss the
some
plan.
feedback
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah, so if you could, at the earliest convenience, please.
Yeah, because we had asked Steve Harper, who was in here before, to come back with either a restoration plan or an NOI if they thought it was feasible to develop whatever they were gonna develop there, but
And they can do that.
it's a heavy lift because, again, that was all delineated as wetland, so that would have required an equal or greater replication
Oh,
area.
because of the finger.
Yes,
Okay.
so we likely wouldn't have,
Watch how you toss the word finger around.
so we likely would have,
Term.
I would imagine we would probably have denied that because it would have been direct resource area involvement. but-
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
But
that's
no one can, yeah,
something.
we can't know.
Oh, just, Nick, one last thing, I'd like to try to move us along, Nick, one last thing.
I'm just curious, so can you clarify, did Tom Christopher and Matt Morrow redelineate any wetland south in the central or southern portion of the lot?
According
did-
to that, he
What's,
didn't.
what's
Yeah, they
what's
took
the
some-
latest map?
They didn't give me a map with this. They did some soil pits and they surveyed
What was that? What was that picture?
It's all cleared, and he did the
the
soil.
soil
study.
types.
Yeah.
3 test pits,
They took some photos, but
and it's wet.
yeah, they can't do any vegetation surveys, obviously, out there, there's no
Yeah.
vegetation,
Yeah.
so.
All right,
Yeah, so I'll have Matt come in.
all right, at his earliest convenience, please.
Yep.
That'd be good, Matt and or Tom, or,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yep.
thank you, Nick.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on, Pier Street property, land grant. I'll just preface this by saying I was very pleased to be invited to come in last week
Yes.
to actually sign the grant paper.
Mm.
They said they would prefer the conservation chairman, so I came in one morning real quickly. That's right, I came in at like 7:15 in the morning.
Yep.
Met Wendy down there in the mayor's office and signed it, so that is official.
Yeah.
The next step is to get rid of that damn sign advertising lots for sale.
So, yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about here.
No,
Pier-
on
so-
Pier Street, remember they,
You should announce that for the camera. We're in a Pierce Street land grant, right?
yeah, I
you
did,
did.
I said Pier Street land grant, yes. You know Pier Street, You know, Pierce Street is by the backside of the Minnesota Country Club?
Because I think we had heard the hearing for the development before Stephanie came on,
Right,
so.
we had some site visit, you were on maternity leave, yes, you've been quite, sorry, you probably missed a lot of that, that's right.
So basically in North,
That explains why I have no idea.
yeah, basically in North Leominster, do you know Pierce Street? Are you familiar with Pierce Street? So there's an area in North Leominster along Pierce Street where it comes to a pretty sharp bend. There's a corner of woodland that accesses off of the Pierce Street there, that opens up to like 50 acre or something parcel.
75, I think, I'll tell you.
It's a pretty large parcel,
Yeah.
but there was talk of maybe developing it. There was a 13 house subdivision that was permitted by this commission, by the then landowners. But the city got a land grant from the state to purchase land for recreation, conservation purposes.
Passive recreation, yeah.
So we, the city applied for that grant to purchase this parcel and had been having a lot of back and forth with the property owners. But they finally agreed to sell the land for the appraised amount, which was like $875,000. It was like really cheap for the land, but it was as is, so that was the appraisal. But it was kind of going back and forth recently, but as Chuck said, it's now official. The
That's
city
awesome.
did buy that. The thing is, with the land grant, that's a reimbursement grant. And part of the terms of receiving that reimbursement is making the site accessible for public recreation.
Right.
So like I said, the only corner of the land that intersects with any road is that corner on Pierce Street where it just is like it's like maybe 50, 60 feet, 50 to 100 feet along the road. It's very small. So to do that, they need to at least cut down a few trees, make a little pullover, like parking lot area. Thing is, as you may or may not remember from permitting all of that, there is an intermittent stream that runs very close to that corner of Pierce Street. So they would be within our jurisdiction doing that, so they would be required, the city, as would anyone at that point, would be required to get wetland permitting through us. So we're in a bit of a time crunch because
It's by June sometime, wasn't it?
it's supposed to be by the end of June, but the state, the EEA people told me that they can give us a little bit of flexibility with that. But this is all just to catch you up on the situation with that, because we've been following it as a commission. And then also to say that we should be expecting a notice of intent from probably like the DPW or someone from the city for
that pull-off.
Could you just-
parking lots.
Point that out on your map?
Oh, yeah.
That would help, huh?
Yeah.
So they're gonna.
I think I know where it is.
But I'll show you the
It's
exact
very
parcel.
thickly vegetated to the point that we didn't
Yeah,
walk
well, I
through
know
it
where it is, right?
when we were there. This is, I believe, the largest NOI to come in front of us in terms of land space.
And then this turns into
So that's
Jaws.
the parcel.
Jocelyn, right?
Yeah, okay.
It is
So-
53
Yeah,
acres.
yeah, yeah.
Here's
Okay.
Minnesota Country Club. Here's the country club right here. Come up Pierce Street, and it takes a sharp right, then comes down to Lancaster, I think. So it's this. There's a little tiny area where we want to put a pullover area for, I don't know, 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah, that is
It goes up-
exactly what I.
Almost all the way up
where I thought it was.
to the pond up there.
Oh, this is awesome. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
A parking area is not recreation. Will this
No,
include a
it
trail?
would, no, it would not. It would facilitate passive recreation.
It's just
Allow
for
people to get
access
to it.
to the site, because
What
no way to
kind of
access
Safety,
it.
safety and access.
Because there's existing,
Passive recreation.
Yeah, farm trails.
As I recall, it was
Yeah,
so
shared
vegetated, we
roads.
wouldn't walk through it. We didn't bother.
The very beginning of it, yeah.
it's very thick right off the road, but there are existing car paths and.
Will this be given over to the trail stewards to put trails through?
That's where I'm
Yeah.
leading.
Yep.
Once the entrance is there, the trail stewards can go out and suggest something.
Yeah.
Once they have
And
somewhere
this
to
one will
park.
fall under our jurisdiction, I assume, because you signed a contract?
Right, correct, yes. Yep.
So the trail stewards would come to our commissioners. They don't do for everything, just the ones where they're on land under our jurisdiction.
Yes,
Yeah.
which this would be, because now it is city-owned land.
Yep.
That would be great. Okay.
But yeah, Dick has sent me some preliminary maps and things, and I've worked with him trying to map out kind of a rough trail plan for this area, but it should be really.
Oh, Dick O'Brien already sent you something. to look
Yeah,
at
like
this?
months ago, when this was
Okay.
still in the works.
Okay, great.
Kind of
So
a
they're already looking at it. Thank you.
Yep. So it should be very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But
Very good.
we just gotta kind of get through this little part and make sure we get the money reimbursed in time, and,
Right.
but we, one way or another, whether we get reimbursed or not, it's the city's land.
Well put.
So, you and I and Wendy needed to stay in touch about
Yes.
getting, to say what they need for
Yeah.
the plan.
Either her or someone at DPW is gonna be filling out the notice of intent
Okay.
and coming to the meeting, so
Okay.
to present on it.
Super, okay,
This is
excellent.
great. We were there talking to the folks who live right at that corner
Yeah.
about all this big development that
Mm.
may go in their wooded backyard.
Yeah, they weren't pleased, I know Mr. Shepherd was,
Yeah, right.
he wasn't pleased, that guy there, yeah.
Okay.
But I think all the neighbors are pretty happy about
Um,
the conservation of
Oh,
land.
is
so.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, good. All right.
Man, yeah, sorry, never mind.
Yeah.
It's not just the neighbors, but like,
Yeah.
that's
It's
great
huge.
all around.
Yeah, they were,
It keeps like, it's already so, like the traffic up there is so bad already, you
Yeah.
know?
And just, I mean, just looking at the size of the parcel in relation to all of North Leominster, I mean, it's
yeah,
a
it's
huge,
a hunk of land,
huge
Yeah.
area.
yeah. All right,
Patch.
cool.
Awesome.
All right, moving on, certificate of compliance. 1343 Central Street, DP number 199-1153. We're going on the sidewalk there with you.
Yeah, so this is kind of a weird one. I was ready, seemingly, to hear this certificate of compliance, but just really quick, this order was originally approved by the commission in May of 2022. I've seen the meeting minutes from that meeting. It was approved at that time. However, you might not remember, for the people who were here, at that meeting, it was still Mark Piermarini from DPW who was acting as agent in between Angela leaving and me coming on. So that was approved at the meeting with Mark, and then there was a canceled meeting due to a quorum issue, and then my first meeting was like a month after. And I think what happened was either I forgot or it was never communicated to me that this was an approved order that needed to be printed out and signed. So it never actually got issued. So I think at this point, we can issue a retroactive order, putting a note somewhere in there of how this came about. But basically, this was for a garage at a business, a private business along Central Street.
Was it the dentist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his RV in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
the
Sports
garage
cars.
has been,
Yeah.
the garage has since been built.
It's massive.
I think they proceeded operating under the assumption that they had the permit because they were here for the approved.
I recall visiting and approving.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, yeah.
But just the actual paperwork was never issued, so I'll have to issue that, and then hopefully by the next meeting on the 28th, they'll have received all that. Y'all would have signed it. Everyone that would have been here at the time anyway, who voted on it, would sign it. And then the certificate of compliance could then be issued.
Fair enough. There's some paperwork to do.
So just kind of a weird situation. I just kind of want to explain that, but that's on me. That's my bad for that.
Oopsie, things happen.
Question about that.
Yeah.
You say the people that were here 2 years ago,
Yes.
and there's a whole bunch of us that weren't, but the people that were here aren't here, so why can't we review what's been done and
Three of us were here.
So I'm gonna look into, it might
Mike, okay.
It might change depending, I'm gonna ask for some guidance from DEP on the situation,
Yeah.
some other bit, and
Good
just
idea.
find the neatest way to kind of wrap this all up, because it was approved in a meeting by a majority vote.
Yeah.
And they've since built the garage, so it might be better to just have like a quick rehash of it and have us re-vote as a new commission on this, but it might just be easier to have the people who were here sign it, and but I'm gonna look into
To me,
it.
it was approved, formally
Yeah.
approved.
I
Our clerical
remember.
error should not involve
I just need
much
to,
moving on.
yeah, I need to
Well, no,
look into the
it's-
best
but
way to.
Isn't, that was an approval to go ahead. Now this is, we're reviewing what's been done and accepting that it was done
Yeah.
in accordance with.
No, he's saying we've got to go and redo the NOI.
Right.
Then we come back and vote on it.
Potentially, or we could just, or I could just
Right.
fill it out
Yeah,
and have whoever
get
sign
some
it.
guidance from DEP and see
Yeah,
what they have
I'm
to
gonna
say.
figure out the best way to proceed.
Yeah.
and we'll-
And
Okay.
once you get that signed, then he'll bring it back and ask for a certificate of compliance. And at that point, everybody's involved.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accepting the notice of intent that was originally approved.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, thank
and
you.
it's a fairly non-controversial spot.
Yeah.
It was a garage behind a developed building.
Yeah, it was on,
It was
it was
just
on the top of
uphill.
a slope a little bit.
Yeah, just uphill on the
Yeah,
construction.
the actual project doesn't sound very controversial. I'm just interested in the fact that
Yeah.
we're gonna be, as we progress, we're always gonna be a turnover of people, and we gotta be able to continue the process even
Yeah.
after people
Yes.
that sign something are gone. We-
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, yeah, just, yeah, reach out to DEP and let us know what they say. Moving on, outreach. Next Nature Walk, May 23rd at 4 PM at the Parmenter Street Trailhead.
Yep, so that's, there's no Parmenter Street technically, it's like a paper road, but it's along Elm Street, it's like a mile and a half past Hill Street, along Elm Street, going up past the reservoir. You pass Morse Reservoir here, go along Elm Street, you'll see Haynes Reservoir through the woods off to the left. So it's after this curve, it's right around here, it's along Elm Street on the right side.
Goes all the way up to 140.
That, Elm Street, yeah, it's like a logging road
Yep.
now, it's like an old paper road.
How
What-
far is that from the chicken coop? Or the,
Doesn't that turn into Rock Pond?
So what?
or the, what's
Just
it?
before the Sportsman's Club.
Okay.
Yeah, the Sportsman's
it's
Club's down here.
Past
It's-
the chicken coop.
It's,
No,
yeah,
the chicken coop's down past the Sportsman's Club.
that's on Wachusett Street.
That's Wachusett
Yeah,
Street.
to
Oh, I'm
the street.
thinking
this is
different
Elm-
street even, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
this is
of-
Elm Street. You'll drive over the bridge, or over the dam for Morse Reservoir, along Elm Street. You'll see Haynes off to the left through the woods, and then it's right around the curve here.
So what will be the,
So it'll be like a mountaintop walk is
Okay.
the theme, because we're kind of
Got
up in
it.
the hills there. So we'll be looking at some more upland species,
Okay.
talk a little bit about glacial history, got some erratics up there.
any eskers out there?
No
No
eskers.
eskers, okay.
We got a couple erratics, and Massachusetts state flower, the Mayflower, it's also growing up there, so hopefully we'll be,
I'm gonna try to get there, I think I can make it.
so.
Are there any bogs along Parmenter Road?
It's very
In-
wet.
In the west, on the west side, I think there are,
Up along here, yeah, there might be some up in here.
well, like
This
along,
is Rocky
along the
Pond.
road
Well, it
itself.
turns into Rocky Pond Road, right?
Along the road
Parmenter,
itself, there are a
halfway
couple
through.
of small bogs.
Up along
On the
Parmenter?
South side.
On
Yeah.
this like logging road here?
Yeah, like around there.
Yeah, I think I walked around in here, I know it was all wet.
Before they
I
put
think
the
this
gates
is-
up
could be a
years ago,
bog
I
up in
drove
this
through
area.
there by
No,
Subaru.
like right by the road itself, like, no, right by Parmenter.
All the way?
Good old
Immediately
days.
adjacent to Parmenter Road, you can see,
I know it's very wet all in here, I don't know
no,
what,
farther west.
There you go.
down here.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe
So-
right, yeah.
Yeah, I
right
know
there.
that. Yeah, we'll check that when we get out there.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, anything under commissioner news?
I got a
Yes,
couple
sir.
of things I'd like to pop out. Just remind everybody that I think the city still pays to take the MACC classes, being a conservation commissioner. So folks who have time are encouraged for that.
Like the fundamentals.
Yeah,
courses?
well, they have
Yeah.
fundamentals, and if you pass, what, 6 of them or
Six of
something,
them.
they go, yeehaw.
It's pretty
Invite
cool.
you to an online graduation or something, but it's kind of cool. We still approve standard conditions without many of us having a great idea what those all are. So I brought this up a couple meetings ago, but I think we need to take a look at those.
Okay.
Back when Angela was the commissioner, I had edited them, but she was usually swamped, so we didn't do anything with it. I would be willing to look at that if I got somebody else to do it with.
I'll do it with you.
And then come back to you and
I'll upload that to the drive if you want, and then anyone can
please
put
do.
comments
That's
and
fine.
edit it, and then I can,
Yeah, that's not gonna work for editing though,
okay,
because it's 5 pages, I'd like to see it
That's
down
true,
to
yeah.
2, so we're gonna slice and dice.
yeah.
So go through and look at it, and what do you really want in there? What parts would really fit for you, and what ideas might you have to reorganize? But I'm not saying everybody would need to do that, we'll take a lead on it
Yeah.
for the bulk of that,
Yeah.
and then come back, fair enough, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Sounds great.
I mean, even
Well,
just for
I'd
the
like
two of
something
you.
shorter so that people,
I'll put a file that just you two have access to and you can
Okay,
that'll work.
work that
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
yeah.
okay,
I mean, I'm gonna wanna do it off of that, I bet.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
purely in Word on my
you
computer.
download it and,
You
yeah.
download
whatever
it,
way is
because
best.
it's gonna get redone.
Yep.
I'd love the Word file of it, though.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, good, thank you, Rich, appreciate those, those are good. All right, next meetings. Next meeting will be May 28th, 2024. The filing deadline was last Friday, May 10th at noon. The meeting after that will be June 11th, and the filing deadline is May 24th at noon.
Do we have any filings for May 10th?
I don't think we have any new ones, since the new hearings that we had tonight.
So we'll have three
Couple-
continued
couple-
hearings,
Yes,
Yes.
if you continue with, yeah.
Yep.
assuming we get DEP numbers for them.
Correct, correct.
Well, they'll be continued in it, but yeah, hopefully we'll have.
And then if
numbers.
we don't have those, we continue,
Yeah.
we just don't open them to
Correct,
continue.
exactly.
They remain continued.
Yes.
And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Steph. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you,
my
Nick.
baby.
All right.
I'll take the commission's vote by roll call. Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Seth Quinlan.
Aye.
Nick Benty.
Aye.
Mike Seiki.
Aye.
Rich Gullick.
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you all.
That one's always unanimous.